Hey there, everybody. We are live. Special time tonight. We are Thursday, Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. Thursdays, 7 p.m. tonight. We have our special guest, Keith Coogan. So hang on. He's coming up on the show. But welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. I'm glad you're here. I'm starting with a little bit of water this morning here. Well, this morning. I'm not even doing a morning show. I just said it was a special late time. Man, here we go. We're ready to fire it up. What a ridiculous thing to say. I used to do that when I was working retail stores. People would come in and I would say, "Hey, have a great day," and because I was used to working the morning shift, or I would say, "Have a good night," and they would be like, "It's 10 a.m." because I'd be used to working the late night shift, so I used to do that too. But our show is normally 11 a.m. every Thursday, and but today, like I said, a special edition, special time slot for our magnificent guest Keith Coogan coming up today. Everybody knows who Keith Coogan is. We've all seen his movies. We grew up with his movies, which is pretty unreal. And the guy's still working too, so which is really really exciting. Is that he's just Hollywood longevity. So that's amazing. We're glad to have him on tonight. So let's talk about my week while we wait and get things cooking here. Let's get it heating up. Like normal. My week was shouldn't say like normal. Actually, I had a pretty wild week. I had, I guess, what I would consider a pretty good actor's week. I had two. I was in two movies, filmed for two movies. One of them was a movie called Green Ultra, where I am the main bad guy, a guy called the director, and basically I call the shots to have people, either put on or taken off, I suppose. So the other thing I did was, so I was a super bad guy on that one, and really played it, darkly and all these things. And then the other movie I did was, a movie called Platonic Love, where I do not play a bad guy. In fact, I'm a good guy, but I'm somewhat of a snooty art patron. So for me, it's a little funny because it was two extremely different roles. The role for being a terrible bad guy, and then at the second time, being like an upscale art patron type person. So for me, that was pretty interesting, and I don't know if that shows range. I don't know what that means. I don't, I didn't mention your broadcast has been paused. It looks like we're back. I have no idea what's happening. Keith Coogan wants to be in your video. That's wonderful. Looks like we're back on. We'll get to our wonderful guest, and as I was talking about the illustrious Keith Coogan, we'll get to him in just a moment, so hang on there. Having some very hot coffee tonight. So we are pumped and ready to go. It's actually decaf because you guys know I don't drink caffeine. Sometimes I come on the show highly caffeinated, so occasionally I'll have caffeine. But anyway, before we get to our guest, let's finish with what we were discussing here, and we're excited to have Keith on. I got to tell you guys, he's one of the best people I think in Hollywood. Just so amazing, and we're very lucky to have him as a guest. But anyway, moving on. So that's what I was talking about was that they had me play two totally different characters in the same weekend. So it makes me wonder, which way do I go? And there was like, you should find your type as an actor. You should find your type as an actor. I don't know if that's true. I mean, because what's my type? I'm the guy who's like buying art, or I'm the guy who's like murdering people. So I'm more likely to buy art. I'm kind of an art guy. But anyway, in my agency this week, they sent me two different things for two different commercials too. Another one of those things. And I'm not going to talk very long tonight, guys, because we're going to get to Keith Coogan. But this is what I do. This part of the show. But they sent me two different things. I auditioned for a company called Frame.io, and they wanted a weathered Midwest farmer. And then they sent me another audition same day for eBay, and they wanted an on-the-go dad. Because you guys know I do a lot of commercials, and I'm going, which one am I? The on-the-go dad, or am I the weathered Midwest farmer? Like, I don't think I can be both. But apparently, and I didn't land either of those roles. So apparently I'm neither. But, which is okay. I didn't land any of those roles. But my point is that this week I had a pretty good actor week. We had two movies that I shot for. I had two auditions for commercials, and I had a movie premiere. Shout out to Nancy Nazari, who was a former guest on our show, and she had a movie that she stars in, and I'm in, but she's the star. The movie is called Justice for Lizzie, and we had the premiere of that this week, and got to go to that and see everybody. And you know, it always makes me feel like a big shot to go to movie premieres. I'm not going to lie; it's part of the reason I do this job, is because I like the attention. And so, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, moving right along, let's get to the good part: Handsome History, and you're going to like it today. Of course, we're enjoying coffee. This is the part where I look really good and I tell you about some Handsome History facts. So, I'm always often inspired when I do Handsome History, you know, something that's going on. And this week, our guest, Keith Coogan, hang with me on this. He's coming right up. I got a lot of questions. I'm sure I could talk to him for an hour. I'm sure. He has danced and sang live at the Oscars. So I'm inspired this week, and obviously the Oscars are this week, so I'm inspired to bring us some Oscar facts for Handsome History. Here we go. The very first color film to win an Oscar was Gone with the Wind, of course, 1940. Walt Disney has won more Oscars than anyone else ever. He has 26 Oscars. John Williams is second. And we all know who John Williams is, famous composer. But John Williams is second. As far as actors go, Katharine Hepburn has the most Academy Awards. She has the most Oscars. She has 4, as far as actors go. Clint Eastwood has 4, but not for acting. Clint Eastwood's 4 are 2 for being Best Director, and 2 for being Best Picture, for having Best Picture. So that's true about the Oscars. The youngest person ever to win an Oscar. Now, again, I picked these facts on purpose because Keith Coogan was huge by this age. The guy's been in SAG since 1976. Like, he was 6 years old when he goes SAG. So, at 10 years old, Tatum O'Neal won Best Actress. And at 81 years old, Jessica Tandy won Best Actress. So there you go, both sides of the spectrum. The oldest one and the youngest one, both held by women. And we're going to get to our guest. I hope you enjoyed Handsome History this week. That is probably the shortest I've ever talked on this show. That is how much I love our next guest. And boy, our next guest is in for a real treat. I hope you've seen the show before, because we're not going to ask regular stuff. We're going to get right to it. I am so grateful for this moment. I want to take a moment to shout out my producer, Warren Madden. This guy and me come as a team. You guys need to know that. If you're hiring me, Warren Madden is on this team when we come with this show. This guy works so hard for this show that there is nobody else who could produce this show, who could tolerate me, who could tolerate what we do. Keith Coogan is our guest. Welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursdays, Keith Coogan.
How is it going? Thanks for having me. That's a badass shirt you got right there.
Thanks, my man. So, I want to get right to it.
Sure.
But before we, I have so many things to talk to you about, and I was telling my wife before the show. She's like, "Are you prepared?" And I'm like, "Not at all," because I'm just so freaked out, and don't have any segues. So I want to get right to it. Recently, you and I, you're a moderator on a forum that I follow, the Hollywood Winner Circle.
Talent management for actors. Yes, that's a great, great board.
Right, and we've talked about that on the show before. Someone was talking about the heartbreak, about when they don't get it. You know what I'm talking about. See, I stalked you, but I'm on that forum. I saw it, and someone was talking about the heartbreak when you don't land a role, and you were like, "Yo, I did not land E.T. and Goonies and Gremlins," and you were like, "You need to calm down, right?" So my first question is how I tell actors, people watching the show, because that's what the show's about, acting. How do you deal with the heartbreak? And then we'll get into E.T. and Goonies and things, Gremlins, but actually, of course, movies you're in as well.
Okay, you can learn craft, you can learn technique, you can learn theater history, drama history, you can study film, study actors. Being present is one of the biggest things. Listening to your scene partner, whether it's a casting director who is purposefully giving you a flat reading so that you can kind of engage in first gear before you start yelling and screaming and throwing sides around the room. So they want to see something true and real. I was listening to the pre, and you said something that absolutely, the industry's changed a lot over the years. And the thing about having a type, know your type, play to your type, is I disagree. And here's why. Because I grew up in the 70s and working, my goal was always work through television, commercials and guest appearances, movies of the week series to get to the feature level. And a theater was a great, way to kind of bridge that gap. Is that if you're staying in the present, you're not worried about the job you don't have. You're not worried about the job you didn't get. You are focused on every audition at hand, and also look at every audition as the first day of work. Your job isn't to get the movie because you don't have any control over that. Your job is to do the work best you can. It's day one. That's it. It's the first day of the job, because let's say you do book it. Technically, that would have been your first day of work, working with the casting or working with the director, working with the material on camera. So, but the type thing in the 70s and 80s, it was don't get stereotyped, don't repeat a role. If you just played a bad guy, play the hero, then play the dad, then play a school teacher, then play the next door neighbor. Change your hair, change your appearance, because you could get pigeonholed. The biggest worry was getting trapped in a TV series and you're Richie Cunningham and you'll never work on camera again. So don't get, unless it's great, it runs for 10 years, you make your money and you're kind of out. There's, not a lot of, it all changed with Bruce Willis and Die Hard, showing you could go to TV and film and back again. And the type thing, that is, because there's 170,000 SAG members, hundreds of productions out there, dozens of great casting directors, trying to kind of narrow that field, get a clear look at what's going on out there. And of course, it all self-filters from, of course, they would love union. Of course, they would love people who are repped by agents that they work with. Just because you have an agent doesn't mean they even talk to that casting director or network with them. When you get representation, you'll start seeing the shows you go up for, and you see, I see the same casting director, like, yeah, those are the three that your agent works with. Start booking with them. Okay.
Right.
If you're not getting booked and you are in front of the same casting director over and over again, they are your cheerleader. The casting director cannot book you. Production books you. Casting director says, I have this great thing. I have three. I have five. And they're putting their name on the line that you are going to come through and be the thing that they need. One of the things I heard was George Clooney. He walked into a part, and he used to go to auditions and go, what do they need me to be? Or how do I get this job or whatever? And he said, actually, I changed the whole attitude to walking into the room and going, I'm the answer. All of the problems you've had, whether the material or finding the right guy, he looked at the work, prepared, and goes in with the confidence of, I am the answer to all your problems. You cast me, and we got this in the bag. And his charm, because really you're paying $15 to hang out with George Clooney for an hour and a half.
which could be worth it. But so you mentioned the 70s and 80s, and I wanted to talk about that. Because, I started to think about how you're in a lot of these movies where they're sort of like kids being free. And even a lot of those movies we talked about that you didn't necessarily land, like Goonies and everything. But our generation was into that like teen adventure. Like, we had Red Dawn, and of course you're in Toy Soldiers, where like young people are like kicking ass. And I sort of think, why is that? Why did we have so many movies from that time? And you're
It's
so great in them.
economics. It's totally economics. So it comes down to Reaganomics, where we had equal rights. We had women in the office. We had two parents working, and actually they had to. They had to become yuppies, because if they didn't, they couldn't survive in the rough economy. So economy's booming, everyone's working, all the parents are working, which created a generation of latchkey children. So we would get out of school at 3. I'd go home and work. My parents aren't home, so you want to play? I'll play. You're expected to be home around 6, maybe dinner time, when the lights come on, when the sun goes down. Everyone had their own arrangement. My family had a yell. We kind of, you could hear it for blocks around the neighborhood. So I'd hear that. I go, oh, I gotta go. My mom's calling. And so that led to adventures like riding on your bikes in the hills and E.T., or going and digging up for treasure like Goonies. It culminated in Space Camp, where they shot kids into space. That's how neglectful the parents were. There was a film called Grand Canyon, and it had Peter Billingsley in it. And at the point, children get lost in the Grand Canyon, and one of them gets eaten by wolves. And
Wow.
it was terrifying. And you pulled back from it. And the political correct said, PC culture said, let's not put women in jeopardy, use them as props, kids too. They shouldn't be hostages or props. It was exploitive. So even when they did True Lies, when James Cameron did True Lies, and he stuck Eliza Dushku on the wing of a Harrier jet, that was a tongue-in-cheek commentary. Oh, do you guys remember when we used to jeopardize children in movies?
Right. So you're in one of the all-time greatest jeopardizing children films.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, right. Obviously, we're talking about Adventures in Babysitting. Now, for me, as a, you and I are the same age. So for me, I'm watching you do these things that seem unimaginable to me. Like, and I understand it's a movie. Even at that age, I understand it's a movie. But it seems like, I mean, you're driving with your babysitter and you're going to this weird garage, and, all these terrible things, and you have a crush on Elizabeth Shue, and who doesn't? And, and so to me, this all seems like an impossibility, but you like represented it. Like, how does that feel to you? Like, as like when someone says that to you, like, you did this thing that none of us could believe. Like,
wow, thank you. And it was just fun. We had a lot of rehearsal. We had 2 weeks of rehearsal in December of '86, and plus there were screen tests. It was tough. So you had your regular auditions, then you had a producer, director, or whatever, and then we had a round of screen tests where they're a Panavision, and we're in the car. They had a doorway. I got to watch Valerie Bertinelli audition for Chris Parker. I got to watch Phoebe Cates audition. Standing there watching. I was in Camp Phoebe Cates because I'd just seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and I was a horny 16-year-old. So, but of course, there's only one Chris Parker, and it's Lisa Shue, and it's because of how we worked together. They were mixing and matching. So Jonathan Ward is up for Brad. They had me and Anthony Rapp switch, and I read for Daryl, and he read for Brad, and they went, okay, you're actually the other way around. We know that it's Brad. They do that. They'll often swap, and it's great because you hear your own dialogue, and you see choices your scene partner makes. And you go, it comes down to casting, because 2 different actors will absolutely interpret material differently. Yeah. Don't worry about what they want. Trust your instincts, do your best work. And I get reminded this all the time because I'm very broad. I learned from my grandfather, who came from vaudeville and silent films, and very expressive. Today,
Jackie Coogan.
Using your eyes, but without your eyebrows. And I'm an eyebrow actor. Oh, really? Oh. I'm hammy, I'm gimmicky, but it's also, I do see the style on certain shows. I get told, do less, no, do less. And then I see the show and it's really big, and I'm like, I feel conned. So I'm just gonna do my bag, and you get the gigs you get, because if you're not authentic, then it's really not going to resonate with audiences. They've got to see that there's a part of either you in the character or a part of the character in you that's true. So I really did sit in a truck and run around town and get chased by bad guys and have a crush on Elizabeth Shue, and that's apparent on film. So there wasn't a lot of acting there.
So right, so it's funny because I get on the set, and okay, what usually happens for me is I'll audition for a principal, and then they'll go, well, how about we don't want you as a principal, but we'll give you something else. And I go, all right, well, I'll do it just to get on set. And then I end up there, and then all I'm doing is watching the guy who got my role, like, or not my role, but got the role, and so all I do is sit there and study how he does it. So it's funny that you mentioned that the other actors pick different choices. You see how somebody else would have done it. That's sort of how I've been able to see that. But
tough, man. I don't look. I'll always catch something. Usually I'll get bitter and the movie comes out that I didn't get, and I'm like, I don't want to see it because I didn't get it or whatever. But eventually it comes around. SAG sends a screener. It's on cable, and you go, fine, I'll watch it. And you watch and you go, oh, okay, totally get it. That they went another way.
I always feel better when they cast a guy who doesn't have a beard, because then I go, all right, at least they didn't want a sexy guy for the role. They picked someone else.
See, now you're thinking exactly the same thing. And you know what? It really just take the ego out of it. It's not about you. You are an answer to them. You just focus on doing your best work. Take care of yourself, take care of your friends, your family, have a job, be stable, but also be so stable and supportive of your circle so that when the phone rings and they say, can you be in Atlanta in 36 hours? You got the plants, you got the kids. Thanks for helping me.
Right. You definitely have to be ready to go. So let's go back to babysitting before we move away from there. When you're shooting these movies, and you've worked on movies that have become not just classics, but cult classics in their own right. Some of them, have their real following, and then some of them, of course, like Fox and the Hound, have this mad broad following. But did you know at the time you were making movies that would stay? Did you know at the time you were like no idea?
I have an echo loop going on. Hold on.
Yeah, I think we're having audio or not. I don't know if it's audio issues, but some kind of video issues, folks. So you know how we do on the Coffee Breaks Thursdays.
One sec. So, absolutely, you don't have any idea. You hope that what you do resonates with audiences. You have no clue. The loop is killing me. I'm going to come out and come back in.
All right, we're going to take a small moment, folks. Keith will be right back. So while we wait, it's pretty amazing that to get to interview Keith Coogan. And when we come back, I've got stuff to show you. I've got things lined up. So hang tough. I'm sure he's coming right back on. In the meantime, it's pretty cool to me. I growing up watching films, as we all did, to get to talk to him, and I have actually met him before, but I don't think he remembers. So I'm gonna probably drop that on him at some point and be like, "Oh my God, did you know we've met?" And he's gonna be like, "I've met 10,000 people that day," because that's what he does. But anyway, I have some really great stuff coming up. He's coming right back. So let's see if we can make this happen with no loop. And we'll check it out while we wait just a moment. Again, thank you to Warren Madden, producer.
I'm back.
You're back. Let's see. There we go. All right. So okay. So let's talk about you're in Adventures in Babysitting, and I want to shout out one of the best scenes in the movie, and it's the scene where Thor comes down. No, no. At the time, I'm like, this dude is like incredible, right? Little did we know how incredible that guy is, right? Like Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, to me, that's, and I don't like to talk about people in, I don't like to talk to actors about other people they work with, but to imagine, for me, that was the first appearance of Vincent D'Onofrio I ever saw. And now to see him as the Kingpin, like, he hasn't changed at all. He's still like the dude who commands the screen. Like, was it that way in person?
Yeah, he'd just come off of Full Metal Jacket, and we knew this. So they said, so he's a method actor. He will be in character the whole time. I tried to pester him. Tell us about Kubrick. What happened? Did he really do a lot of takes? Then he's just looking at me. He's just, he did. He talked to me a little bit. He goes, Kubrick's not in the room. He's in another room watching on a monitor. And you do as many takes as you need to do it, It's, you don't really get a lot of direction. Just go again, go again, go again. He said he really just beat it out of you so that you stopped acting. You're just so exhausted and so tired. You just say the lines. You just do the bit. He got to develop the character. He got the part of Full Metal Jacket because he was in a class with Matthew Modine.
Oh my gosh, the great
Um,
Matthew Modine. Shout
yeah.
out to him.
So we get him on. He's working one day on Adventures of Babysitting. One day, and he's the greatest Thor on screen.
Right.
And you know, he was so intimidating that he made Maya Bruton kind of laugh and crack up and break, because she'd look him in the eye and she'd kind of get nervous and smile. You could see just a skinch of it in there, but it turns into tears as Maya just digs in, and she's fantastic. And I believe him. He is such a good actor that by the end of that scene, you go, I think he's Thor. I think he does have a helmet at home. He's a hero. And then the work that he's done, and I hear, people say different things. They go, he's fantastic. He's obviously great. They also go, he's not difficult, but he likes to take his time and he likes to get it right. And he likes to have input into blocking and the scenes. And he likes to be a part of it, not just a puppet on set. And he's earned it. He's so fan. I got a chance to run into him at the Egyptian Theater. They were doing an event, and through a chain link fence, I'm with my wife Pinky. We're just saying, trying to see everyone going in, and we see Vincent go, Vincent, Keith, Thor's home, just whatever. And he's like, comes over, talks, and takes a selfie, and he just, the crowd's going around us, but he's just so there. And so, how are you? What's going on? Same with Bradley Whitford. Saw him recently too. And Maya Bruton and Anthony Rapp. He was doing If Then several years ago in LA. And David Simpkins, the writer of Adventures of Babysitting, also the writer of Briscoe County Jr. and Angel and Warehouse 13. Funny, Adventures in Babysitting is the only feature film that David Simpkins wrote.
What a shame. What a shame. I mean, so brilliant. Let's talk about, and I just knocked over something I'm going to show you in a little bit. Let's move, and thank you for that wonderful thing about D'Onofrio. I really want to focus on you though, because you're amazing. But thank you for letting us know that. I'm sort of a super fan of his, but as much as I am of yours. And I've met you, which
Yes.
is
Where did we meet?
So you and I have a mutual friend, Steve Wyatt. And right, and he's uncle to my children. I've known him 30 years. In fact, I was thinking about, I think it's 31 years I've known him. But you were at Silicon Valley Con with your wife, who I've met, and she was there with you, and you met your wife at a convention.
Mm-hmm. At my first autograph convention, LA Celebrity Show at the Lowe's at Hollywood and Highland, and she didn't know who the hell I was. She was there to see Tracy Gold and Jeremy Miller and Jeremy Licht, who was sitting right next to me. And her friends were like, oh, we got to get Keith. He's never done a show before. And they had posters that they needed my signature to complete, like an Adventures in Babysitting or whatever. One of her friends had 5 items for me to sign. And they're like, it's a Keith Coogan emergency. And my wife, now for 8 years, said these words. I don't know who Keith Coogan is. There's never going to be a Keith Coogan emergency. Oh, honey, there's a Keith Coogan emergency every day now. So she comes to just get a selfie. But at the time, I was green, totally to autograph conventions, and Scotty Schwartz had recommended $20. Autograph, $20. It comes with a selfie. She didn't want my autograph. She hadn't seen any of my movies, but she did. She could find if my friends, like, I'll get it. She gets people coming up, going down, whatever, just in case something happens. She's got thousands of selfies with celebrities. So how much? I'm like, $20 for the autograph, and then you can get a selfie. She's like, fine. I sign. The dishes are done, man, on something. She picks the cleaned up Kenny from Don't Tell Mom because she didn't like the wigs, the long hair. She's like, oh, he's cute there. So I sign it. She had no idea the quote or anything. And so let's take the picture. So I get up around the table and we come and we get this far, eye to eye, and it was just, there you are. However many instant connection, love. We flirted all day. There's video. She did a 2-question interview with me for her blog, and in it you're like, oh yeah, they're in love within hours of meeting. We got engaged in a few months, married by October. We met Groundhog's Day, married by October 26th, and we got, we were like, hey, it's probably going to be a lot of just flying around to different states and meeting a lot of great people at conventions. Is that the life you want to live? That sounds pretty good. Let's do that. Let's do that. So we've been trying to up our convention game, try to get into half a dozen, 8, maybe 10 this year. We're trying to get into as many conventions, see as many states. We got an Anchorage, Alaska show at the end of April. Never been to Alaska. That'll be fun.
I'm so glad I asked that story, man. That's remarkable. I dragged my wife around to bullshit cons saying, "What, you know, you watch me sell toys and struggle to make money. You know, you had a much easier chance, you know."
Then we're like this far and there's a connection. She's like, are we about to kiss? No, I'm like, are we about to kiss? And she goes, I don't know. Are you going to charge me?
Nice.
$20.
She was right in on it from the get-go with you. That's great.
It's pretty amazing. It, you know, still is. We just bought a house. We're all adulting now. And yeah, so I'm very, very lucky and blessed.
We just bought a house. I can't imagine why you're increasing your cons that you're going to.
Exactly.
Right.
So plumbing issues we got to deal with.
So one of the things you signed for me, and I'm gonna pull that up here on Show and Tell with Keith Coogan, is you signed this for us. You signed this for us because we didn't want to approach you. You know, we've been on the con circuit for 30 years. Obviously, it's how we know Steve, and we didn't want to approach you. And Steve and my wife was like, I don't know, Jay, we should go talk to him. And Steve just walks over. Next thing I know, you're signing this. And
what vinyl did we get for that? Did we barter for that?
You know what? I said to him, I said, dude, don't I owe you? And you went, no, it's nothing. Right. And, you know, because of Steve, obviously, he does not sign stuff for nothing. Steve is a good friend. He's a dear family friend.
When the guy that gets you into his own con, and Steve, you know, develops these cons that are amazing, and they go, here's my friend. What are you
right. You go right, exactly. So thank you. We have it. Obviously, we display it.
It looks great.
You know, we love it. So what I wanted to ask you is, obviously, this is from Don't Tell Mom. You know, another movie where you're sort of bad behaving, but or good behaving. It depends on the part of the movie. But when you're at cons, and I love personally, because I'm part of the con circuit, not as an actor, but I hope to be part of the con circuit as an actor one day. But as a toy guy, you know, my first business, I've been obsessed with the con circuit. I've been obsessed with people who do it. So you're a guy who sort of embraces it, wants to meet the fans.
That was so I was hesitant. And the reason that 2013 in February was my first convention was because I was absolutely hesitant to do it. That, you know, yes, like theater, you get an instant reaction. They're going to laugh. They're going to cry right in front of you. The applause when you bow, it's there. It's instant. You do a movie and then they edit and then they cut and effects and they're going to push the release. And then 9 months later, a year later, it comes out. You got to sneak into a theater, cast a crew screening. It's loaded. Everyone's laughing at every joke. So you got to go to a real paying audience and sit and watch. And then you see the reaction. So delayed. So the fan connection, the day I did it, I noticed how the fans were. And then I also, at the same show, was I Dream of Jeannie, and, you know, you got the voice of Charlie Brown and Lucy there, and of course my friends, Tracy Gold and Jeremy Miller. I know all these guys. Is the cons are great. First, you see a lot of old friends and a lot of old co-stars, and catch up, and hey, how you doing? Especially the slower the con, the more you get to hang out with your actors.
Right.
Then there's also great booths with pop vinyls and stuff and albums and just ephemera and posters and candy, and you know, the cons are fantastic for you know, and you should see, I mean, every wall in here is covered with pictures and posters and pop culture stuff. We are sucker for it. A sucker for 80s stuff. And then the fan reaction, it's a one-way street when you're in film and television. So you perform kind of to a camera, and then this box is in their living room or their bedroom, and you've been in their house. They've spent time with you. You watch 2-3 movies. That's 6 hours you've been in their house. So, but you don't know them. So they're a stranger to me, but I'm familiar to them. And and I get all kinds of questions. What, did you really have a crush on Elizabeth Shue? They want to know. They want to know what it was like. And it is all a big make believe. You know, it's all bubblegum and top stick tape and kite string and cardboard. But the people that use those materials best win Oscars. It's all the same toys we're dealing with. It is how well do you run the carnival? How well do you put on your show? It is you're either show folk or you're not. And some people don't even know. They'll try it and they go, this is terrible. Crisis and stress constantly and time pressure and deadlines. And I kind of like it. And so you're wired for it or you're not wired for it. There's people that I know that want to do it and they get into it and they're like, this isn't what I expected. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's a hard way to make an easy living.
Dude, it's hours and hours. It's intense. And you guys don't even, we're like, when we're the vendors at the show, we're like the crew. We have to stay late. We have to come early. You know,
we are too. That's the thing, is I learned it from, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, not at all.
I didn't mean
You're the
to,
guest.
but it was Sam Jones, who is the
Flash Gordon. Right.
Sam does 45 shows a year.
Oh my God. He knows Steve too.
He emails promoters. He goes, I like your guest lineup. You have room for Sam? And they go, yeah, we'd love to have you at the show. And he goes, great.
Of
I
course.
have one request. I choose where my table is. And I go, sure.
No.
And you walk in the door of the con and there's Sam Jones with his 20-foot backdrop sitting on his tall chair. And he told us, he goes, you are there for the fans. He goes, if a con promoter gives you a table from 10 to 5, you are at your table from 10 to 5. You don't leave early. You don't bail out on Sundays. And I've seen him at every con. And we'll look around. 4 o'clock will come and other people are packing up. And we'll be looking across the hall at Sam Jones. We'll be like, we're staying till this ship goes down, till they push us out of this con. Because there's people that have driven hours. My wife has done that. She's gotten there half an hour before a con closes. She's like, oh, I hope they're still there. Everyone's gone. So if you're the only 2 guests left, they're lighting up for Sam Jones and Keith Coogan.
It's okay. So it's so funny that you mentioned that.
It is a business. It's a business, but it's also, it's PR. This is a PR function, I think. And of course, there's, commerce involved. But it's like a concert. You're going to buy a T-shirt. You're going to get the album. Maybe buy, you go to Disneyland, you get the popcorn. They pay the extra to get the, Cinderella thingy. Horror fans, I got to do more horror movies because horror fans are fetishistic. They buy the doll and the thing and the box set, and they have you sign them and the pop vinyl.
So you're getting a little ahead of me there. But when I met you, Sam Jones was there, and I walked in and said, "How the hell did Sam Jones get the best table in the room?" Now I know. And, I mean, he was on the corner in this perfect spot, and I was like, "Dude." And the funny thing is, when I met you, Steve and I were relaxing, hanging out. We were talking to Wednesday Addams, Lisa Loring. We were talking to her, and we were sitting at Ernie Reyes's table because he had left. So I've straight experienced what you're talking about. Because Ernie Reyes had bounced at like 3 o'clock, and the show was going till like 7. But maybe he had a shoot. I don't know. I don't want to prejudge why he had to leave. But I feel you. When you're at cons, what is the thing you sell the most of? What is the number one? Is it babysitting? Is it Don't Tell Mom? Or is it Pen in the Con? Like obviously at MouseCon.
Yeah.
You're going to sell.
Went nuts for
So-
Disney related. Oh, look at that!
No. So here's what you don't understand is I have a Keith Coogan shrine. So that's what you don't know is that, and then even today, producer Warren Madden goes, "Yo, is that lunchbox signed?" And I was like, "No, do I have to have everything signed by him?" Like,
hold on, I'm flagging your profile on Facebook. Stalker. Okay.
Right. So
we'll always be friends forever, won't we?
Right. And here I even have the
got the
cassette.
cassette.
I can hear your voice. So
Now I had that. I also had the Robin Hood one had a green cassette. The Aristocats one had a pink or purple cassette. Each book attached to a movie had a different colored cassette that tied into the poster art and the color art and everything like that.
you gotta love it.
Do you remember?
I do. Oh yeah, in the toy business, of course. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, how do you think I acquired all of this Keith Coogan merchandise?
See, we were
And
lucky.
you know what?
I think today as actors that they don't. Everything's. I downloaded it. They don't even have a DVD or a Blu-ray because they just are streaming it. So
Right.
There's nothing tangible. So if you were lucky enough, as I was, to work in the 80s, early 90s, video, DVDs, laser discs, I have the greatest ones are those laser discs. So much room for art and, you know, stuff on the back and extra pictures. So that we were lucky that the generation, and then this is why I think that like things like Adventures of Baby, saying I'm honored when they even mention it in the same sentence as like a Ferris Bueller or a John Hughes movie. It was our own little Disney honest effort.
No, it's on the same level,
story.
Dude.
Huh?
It's on the same level, dude. Summer School, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, all of those the same.
Well,
Adventures
let's
in
think about
Babysitting.
the structure of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He leaves home. They go on an adventure to different locations all throughout Chicago, never going back to the same place twice. They have a French restaurant scene, a musical sequence, and they just beat the parents home at the end. Sounds a lot like Adventures in Babysitting.
I love that you've given that thought.
A blues bar scene. We just go around town to different locations and we just beat the parents home at the end. There's a rumor that David Simpkins watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off and went home and broke story on Adventures. He goes, I got it. And he went home and finished the last draft. So it's you know, and then we get to Don't Tell Mom, which the writers said their insight was at the time there was a lot of parents leave town and everything goes to hell. And they said, what if we wrote a movie where the mom leaves town, but the kids pull their act together? And so that was it. At the end of it, everyone's cleaned up. They cleaned up the house. They've got jobs. They got great insurance. Kenny becomes a gourmet chef. I took it because I'm like, yes, he's a stoner, Guns N' Roses layabout, but he turns into a responsible, caring, loving gourmet chef. He has a goal. He has a future. It was very pure reasons why I wanted to portray Kenny. So very lucky. Because Curtis Armstrong, we saw him talk at My Name is Booger, his book release. He's incredibly funny and smart and witty. And he said there's two levels of luck. One, you get a job. You're in a movie, they're paying you, they're playing the sandbox and make believe. The second level of luck is, do they have a 30-year anniversary Blu-ray release? Is it still talked about? Is it still got? And so very lucky that, you know, and even Adventures of Babysitting Don't Tell Mom, I don't even think it went into nostalgia because it never stopped playing on cable. It's just, I love it. It's been a quiet little constant. It wasn't $100 million movie. It made its money. Everyone was happy, but it is on, and it's also a great directorial debut of Chris Columbus. All of his films have this kind of good textured, real tone, but are good adventures. You know, our title logo, we ripped off Indiana Jones for the kind of
font,
like fade from yellow to brown in the title. Drew Struzan drew the poster. I was blown away when we released it. I always Touchdown Pictures. They usually do like $10 million budgets. They release it. Richard Dreyfuss, Bette Midler, those kinds of movies are going on. Outrageous Fortune, Emilio Estevez, Stakeout. So we're like, all right, we're in the Touchstone thingy. Which big star are they putting in this one? Oh, no, it's you, 4 kids. What? Excuse me? You don't have a Richard Dreyfuss or any of your benchmark like people? Oh, no, it's Elizabeth Shue and you 3, you know. And it performed well. They increased theaters second weekend and it made more money. It actually went up in box office and it had legs. It stayed in theaters for weeks and weeks and weeks. And had a healthy video release. Absolutely lucky. Oh, so the day it opened, you get the LA Times and you go, how big's the ad? Is it a half page? Is it a full page? Is it black and white, a little corner down? You know, you've seen all kinds. If a Canon film is going to have a little black and white thing down here, go see Delta Force. We open the paper and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see the ad. Oh no, they didn't put any ads in the. You get to the middle fold of the entertainment section. I opened it up, and it's a 2-page, full page. Every theater, movie reviews, the British, full sheet, horizontal version of the whole Chicago nightline, us hanging on that Drew Struzan art. Drew Struzan's drawn Harrison Ford more than anybody. He did Shawshank Redemption posters. He's who they based Thomas Jane's character off in The Mist. In The Mist, he's a poster artist and he's drawing The Thing, the John Carpenter's The Thing poster art. Drew Struzan, great poster art, money behind the release. Touchstone was behind it. We did a 11-city, 9-day tour Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Atlanta. We went, San Francisco. We went 11 cities in 9 days promoting it. And I very, very lucky.
So have you met Drew Struzan? He often does Steve's cons. Have you met him?
I haven't. My dear friend John Donahue, who doubles for Tom Hanks, he's been his stand-in, his double for 20 pictures. He works with Drew closely. He also gets access to Disney archives and posters and all this stuff. And John has done a great job on a documentary talking to Drew about his work. And Drew is amazed himself at the number of great films he's worked on and the art he's done. He is proud of every comp art, the stuff that the studio didn't approve and then later changed. And I recommend people get his book. There is a coffee table picture book that has got Back to the Future and Police Academy 2 and Adventures in Babysitting, Batteries Not Included, all of these great posters he's drawn.
I think it's Return of the Jedi too, I think.
Yeah,
one of the versions of that, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway,
no.
So,
And he gets confused with Ralph McQuarrie and other poster artists.
Maybe I did that. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
But he did do some poster art for Lucas and Raiders, but not the original release, and not like there's very specific what he's done. But his art is it's photorealistic. It's got the shading. You're like, that's, and we were just So I consider it just very lucky. So it was a great launch. And also my family had taught me you need to be booked and working on your second job before the first one is released. Because if it's a stinker, you might not work for a while. So you want to be already working as work begets work. So I was on the set, hiding out. I'm still working. We shot Adventures in Babysitting January, February, March, and it was released in July 4th for July 4th weekend. And by that time, I'd moved on to Under the Board, my third film that year. Just stack them up, just in case. And then they start tripping. And I think I did 2 pictures a year over the next, 10, 15 years. Like 8 or 9 of them were studio pictures. Very lucky. Paramount, Disney, 20th Century Fox. We had TriStar for Toy Soldiers, De Laurentiis for Hiding Out. I even did a New World picture, which is who's the exploitation director. Anyway, there's so many camps in town. There are 6 or 7 studios, but each studio has 3, 4, 5 main developers. They all use certain casting directors. They all talk to certain agents. And the number one way I've seen actors get into the loop is performing in a black box theater in a 3-person play off of Santa Monica Boulevard at the Complex. And you try to get a cast in something with a known person. You go, they're pretty good. Maybe their manager will come. And you perform that night. And after the show, their manager comes up to you and goes, hey, I'd like to talk to you. And I have seen actor after actor in show after show be invited after the show. I will bring my agent or manager, and they will go, I want to talk to so-and-so. And I introduce them, and they'll start to get repped, and they'll start to book work. I don't know. There's a lot of other routes. There's a million different ways to kind of break, okay? But that's one route I know. You sweat it out, and you do the work in a black box theater for 99 seats, and you do that night after night while you're doing everything else. And they go, oh, wow, I know what I can do with them.
Right. Wow. I mean, that was really great stuff. I wanted to go back to the thing. You mentioned that when your wife met you at a con, I kind of got thrown off by the amazing thing about the working, putting in the work. I mean, to me, it surprises me when somebody doesn't know who you are, and you. No, but for real, because, we all grew up with you and all this stuff, but you still put in the work like you're talking about. You had mentioned earlier that it was 30, like if you have a Blu-ray, a 30+ anniversary, and that some movies are lucky to get that. But, let's talk about a movie maybe that got one, maybe didn't, but you're in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot as well. So tell us about that, because like I'm saying, you still work. So,
Just wonderful. Kevin is amazing. He inspires people to get off their ass and do it. He did. Working at a quick stop and made a movie at night and released it and got it picked up and got released and kept making movies, directing TV, directing animation. So you hustle, because I've never seen anyone work harder than Kevin Smith. He is doing a podcast in the car driving to a studio to do another interview. He overloads himself and he does it all. The guy had a freaking heart attack trying to entertain people down at the Alex Theater here in Glendale. We went to the show that night that he had his heart attack, and Pinky and I had tickets for the 9:00 show. We sat down, we're in the theater, and they go, "We apologize, but Kevin is in the hospital." It was free tickets, so there's no refunds. They go, go home. Sorry about that, no show tonight. And they use the 7:00 performance is the performance on streaming. You can watch it, and to realize he had a heart attack 10 minutes after that performance, it was crazy. And so he just hustles. I know that he hustles so hard.
Is that what it takes? Honestly, you're talking about working. You're talking about working at the Black Box Theater, for 99 seats and putting in the work, and you're talking about shooting it. Is that what it takes to make it? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, because I'll be honest. I've been actually seeing this kind of as a theme lately, reading Variety, Vanity Fair, Hollywood Reporter, and interviews with the Oscar contenders and stuff. And they have an idea of what it will mean to be successful. Oh, a big break in a nice movie, or series regular, and they get it and they do it. And they think they've hit a level of success, and they turn around and nothing's changed. There's nothing there but more work. And the higher you get, the more work it is. The more expectations, the more money, the more people in your circle supporting: agent, manager, publicist, stylist, coach, dialect coach, physical coach, trainer. So it is always a hustle. And you want to hear an actor complain? Give them work. So you're
not kidding. You're not kidding. Because when I get an audition, I'm like, God dang it, they want it by 7:00. What am I supposed to do?
You do it by 7:00.
Oh no, right? No, of course, but yeah.
They were talking to directors about, what do you think is like the ultimate representation of a movie? The one that they released, or the special edition, or the director's cut, or that we pulled some lost scenes, or we digitally fixed stuff. And you could tinker with a movie forever if you have tons of time and unlimited budget and there's no deadline. And I think it was Ridley Scott. He says, the film that you deliver on a deadline to get it in the theaters, that's the cut. That's the only one that matters, because everything else is, I had extra time. Oh, now we see what audiences need or want. The one you deliver on that budget, on that schedule, it's not done. Oh my God. That's the cut. And it's all an illusion. It's all trick. Editors save our ass. I've got to shout out. You make 3 friends on the set. The writer, so you have good words to say. The cameraman, so you look good on film. And the editor, so you stay in the picture.
Right, because staying in the cut is how you get paid, and also how you get more work. So tell us what else you have coming up. Tell us what else. And where? Tell us the conventions. Where can people see you? Where can people find you? If they want to come and meet you, they want to see how great you are in person.
Stop. Thank you. So I have a website, KeithCooganOnline.com. And it leads to the Twitter and the Instagram. I'm boring. It's all Keith Coogan at all of those things. And I announce conventions that come up. I got to put like a schedule for this year, just so people kind of have a little more advance warning. And follow Pinky, though. She posts a lot more than I do, and she's great on Instagram. She's got great photos. I'm terrible on social media. And also Cameo. On Cameo, Keith Coogan. And love Cameo. What a great way to kind of connect with fans. And
okay, so Cameo is the one where people can have you give a personal message to somebody for an event or a birthday or those kind
or
of things.
themselves, or a cheer up message, or an anniversary, or a birthday, or an interview. They can submit questions for an interview.
Really? And what do people ask you to say on those? Do they ask you to say your famous lines?
Oh, absolutely. Tell stories about the making of something. Do a couple of quotes. They'll say these are our favorite kind of films, and I'll try to throw in, a couple of behind the scenes stories or things like that. Of course, you do the quotes. They can pull your strings like a puppet and say, "Here's a script to read," and that's it. You're getting compensated for your time. You do it, and maybe you do a couple of takes too. You got like, "Oh, I blew that. No, go delete it. Record another one." You're working basically. But what's amazing is, because this is all based on Fire, the Fire Festival.
Oh yes.
Well, Fire as a corporation there was such a problem booking top musical acts for outside of Clear Channel networks. So if you had the money but you wanted to hire Pearl Jam for a party, it was hard to make that happen. And they said, we're going to create a thing where you can hit a button, see a price, set a date, and book it with your Amex. And that was Fire, F-Y-R-E. And the Fire Festival was a big shit show. Sorry, I'm cursing. The business is rough. I call it the bone machine, by the way, because you're going to come in, you go and get ground up in that bone. You got to be tough. You got to be tough in this town. Or not. I've seen people that are very vulnerable. They're very open. And a lot of them aren't with us because they didn't have the tough skin around them. And, River Phoenix and Corey Haim and Brad Renfro. It's too many friends I've lost because they weren't inoculated. They didn't have family members in the industry. They came from out of town. They're discovered or sucked into the industry. They didn't want this. They had a unique talent of vulnerability and accessibility to an audience. And this town killed them, frankly. So know what you're in for when you're into this business. It is, you better love it. Just better love it. Really on it.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get all serious.
No. That's okay. It took me back to when I met Corey Haim at a con, and his mom was there with him. It was one of those moments where he was trying to get back on track, and recently, just moving here, I just recently went to the Viper Room, which I heard is going to be turned into obviously shout out to River Phoenix, but I heard they're gonna make it into apartment buildings. I just the other day I heard that. I can't believe it. So
on the radio they go, who hasn't stood in line at the Viper Room? And it goes all the way up the hill and up on a Sunset right in front of the liquor store, where of course you go in and you get a little airline, shots. Drinking in line to get into the whiskey is a rite of passage.
There you go. Right. And I haven't done that, and now I never will, but, because I'm only recently here to LA. But anyway, so back to what we're saying, what is your most requested film? What is your most requested item that you sell at the cons?
Oh, it depends on the con, but it comes between Adventures of Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And really it goes based on IMDb. We'll put your top 4 recommended as that 4. And that's based on the logarithm of hits on it, interest. In the old days, they used to have comments on IMDb, star rankings, all that stuff kind of goes in and it goes, here's your best 4. IMDb's, it's an AI. I trust it. And it's Fox and the Hound, Toy Soldiers, Adventures of Babysitting, and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. So those things sell the most. The big one hitters are the Babysitters, Adventures of Babysitting, and Don't Tell Mom. So I've created a 2-shot. It's got the poster for one on one other. It's got both on one 8x10. So they can't decide. I'll sign both sides. You can cut it and give it to fans, friends, family, whatever. Or, if you like both films. It was such a tie between the both that I just made a shot that had both posters on one 8x10.
That's really great. Necessity is sort of the mother of invention on that one. And you will double sign it for the fans?
No, absolutely. I sign one side as Brad and the other side is Kenny.
That's so great. And you know what I love is you say the line when you sign it. People like to hear you say it. It's exciting. Right.
We went to go see a screening of Clockwork Orange with Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, brilliant.
And who was Dracula in the vampire movie? Gary Oldman is the moderator.
Oh, wow.
wait, Gary Oldman is the moderator to talk to Malcolm McDowell. So I'm dying. We're sitting here. They've got the pods and they've got, guys in the bowler hats walking around with eyeballs on their sleeves. I'm a picking shit. So they're doing the Q&A and they get to Singing in the Rain. And they talk about the story of him, the only song that he knew all the words for. And it caused Kubrick to stop, go off, make a phone call, and buy the rights to Singing in the Rain. He goes, that was a $10,000 decision you just made. So he gets out of his chair and he starts doing Singing in the Rain. I'm singing. And Pinky turns to me and she goes, that's his dishes are done, man. And because I was thrilled. I was like, that's all I wanted to see him do.
Right.
So that's, of course, people want to hear you say, the quotes and stuff.
Is there a quote that someone has asked you to say that you didn't expect?
Well, we've always been on the hedge on Thor's a homo. So we understand the movie's a product of its time, culture, society was different. Movies were a reflection of the time that they were made. That I think things have definitely changed enough that probably wouldn't be dialogue that's in the movie. And so when I did a show at the Castro Theater in San Francisco, and it's a huge gay crowd, I've never been asked to sign Thor's a homo more than on that show. Am I going to make t-shirts or offer that on my website? Hells no. But to think, and it's so many people that aren't gay goes, isn't that offensive? And the people that are gay goes like, can you write that on a t-shirt, dude? So it's so subjective. And yeah, that's the one that I get asked for. And I'm like, are you sure? You good? Are you good on that? Okay, absolutely, I'll write that. It's a great line.
That's so amazing. I remember Clapton was playing this show. It was an NA, a Narcotics Anonymous convention,
Yep.
and they had him as a guest, and he said, I won't play cocaine, and they said, oh no, you have to play cocaine. Like that's the rule, right? Like so you have to. So you've answered so many of my questions, and you've said so many wonderful things. You and your wife are both wonderful people. Like I said, I've met you, and I don't normally shout out the guest's wife, but shout out to Pinky. She's fantastic. Tell us, and you've like I said, you've kind of covered this topic, but for an actor coming up, for somebody who's trying to get into the industry, you already explained that, but other than you better be ready for it. Do you have some final words that would be encouraging?
Yeah, when you get a chance to meet a rep, and they go, "Do you have any questions?" You say, "Yeah." What do you need me to do? What do you need from me? Need new shots? Need new look? Need new resume? I will do it. No guff. Don't come up with excuses. They go, "I need new headshots." You go, "You got them. Have them in a week." Do give your representation every tool that they need to sell your stupid ass. There's 170,000 other SAG actors that want this frickin' role, okay? Be a pit bull. Be an animal. If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. Kick the door open, look at everybody else in the room and go, I got this. You can go home. It takes amazing confidence because you are going to get rejected. Best in my life. In the middle of the 80s, I'm booking TV shows left and right. Still 1 out of 6. That's phenomenal. 1 out of 10 is phenomenal. That means 9 failures for every success. So the only way to get there is just keep trying, keep banging away, trust your instincts, listen, learn, read, watch, get inspired by other stuff, and keep at it. And the best thing we heard, we were watching a show and they had Hanna-Barbera, actually one of them, and the character on the screen, which are you, Hanna-Barbera? And he goes, I'm Joseph Barbera. I goes, okay, or whatever, Barbera. And they go, I'm thinking of quitting the business. And I don't know, I've been trying and trying. And he goes, well, I can't guarantee success, but I can guarantee failure. Quit. You could give up on a Tuesday, but Wednesday could have been the day you got the phone call and the big break. So just don't give up on Tuesday. That's all I'm saying.
I love it, folks. It doesn't get any better than that. Keith, you've been amazing. Folks, go to Keith Coogan online. Go to the conventions. Support him. You're going to meet him. You're going to say, I saw him on Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. You're even better in person. Your lovely wife is here. You're going to say that stuff. Buy the plate. Get your stuff signed. It's going to be fantastic. I definitely encourage you to buy the plate. Keith, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. We're grateful for you being here tonight with us and for everything. And folks, we're back at our regular slot, 11 a.m. Thursday next week. Keith, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, man. And dishes are done, man.
Thanks, brother.
Rock and roll.